1922. Archaeologist Howard Carter opens the tomb of Tutankhamun, sealed more than 3,000 years earlier. Inside, a ceramic jar. He opens it, and what's inside is still edible. It hasn't turned to stone. It hasn't rotted. It hasn't crumbled to dust. Still sweet, just like the day it was sealed. This isn't canned food, and it isn't some lab-made exotic substance. It's honey, the same jar sitting in your kitchen right now. Today we're figuring out how an ordinary jar manages to stay alive practically forever. What's behind that on a chemical level, and why, despite being nearly indestructible? There's one group of people for whom this product can actually be dangerous. Right here, on What Objects Hide. Among the hundreds of objects left for the pharaoh's afterlife were jars of honey, and as the story goes, a few brave archaeologists decided to taste it. It turned out to still be edible. This wasn't an isolated case. Similar finds have turned up in other Egyptian tombs. The Egyptians considered honey an eternal food. They placed it in tombs because they believed it never spoiled, which made it a symbol of immortality. They even soaked bandages in it for mummification, because they noticed that wherever honey was present, decay slowed down. Here's where the confusion usually starts. Most people have heard the phrase, "honey never goes bad." Very few have actually stopped to ask how that's chemically possible. Every other food eventually rots. Honey doesn't. The answer lies in three mechanisms working at the same time. The first is its structure. Honey has an extremely low water content, usually under 18%. Bacteria and mold need moisture to grow, and honey literally pulls that moisture out of any microorganism that lands in it through a process called osmosis. The cell simply dries out from the inside. The second factor is acidity. Its pH sits around 3.9. And most bacteria simply can't multiply in an environment that acidic. And the third is the most surprising. While bees are making honey, they add an enzyme called glucose oxidase. It slowly releases small amounts of hydrogen peroxide, the same antiseptic used to clean wounds. Bees preserve their own creation with a natural antiseptic before it even reaches the jar. Dryness, acidity, and antiseptic, three defenses at once. That's why, sealed properly, this product can outlast not just a person, but an entire civilization. Here's a fair question. If honey is this indestructible, why does the jar in your cupboard sometimes turn cloudy, thicken, and harden into an almost solid block? Isn't that spoilage? Actually, no. That's crystallization, and it's a perfectly normal process. Honey is made mostly of two sugars, glucose and fructose. Over time, glucose tends to separate out of the solution and form crystals, especially if there's more glucose than fructose, or if the jar has been sitting somewhere cool. The texture changes, but nothing has actually gone wrong chemically. It's just as safe to eat. What's more, it's easy to reverse. Set the jar in warm water, gently heat it, and the crystals dissolve right back. What looks like a ruined product is really just a temporary rearrangement of sugar molecules. Now, here's the twist. The same substance that outlasts millennia and kills bacteria through its own composition is officially off limits for one specific group of people: infants under 1 year old. It's not that the product spoils or contains poison. It comes down to spores of a bacterium called Clostridium botulinum, which can occasionally end up inside honey from soil or dust during nectar collection. For adults and children over 1 year old, these spores are completely harmless. A mature digestive system won't let them germinate. But an infant's gut hasn't yet built up its protective microflora, and in that environment, the spores can germinate and start producing a toxin that causes infant botulism. a rare but serious condition that requires immediate medical attention. And here's the interesting part. The very same properties that make honey immune to spoilage don't help here at all. Even pasteurization doesn't solve the problem. The spores are heat-resistant. That's exactly why pediatricians worldwide follow one simple rule. No honey for children under 12 months old, whether it's in food, water, or on a pacifier. It's a real paradox. The very thing that makes this product immortal for everyone else turns out to be powerless against one single form of life. Looking at this through chemistry, the whole picture comes together. Honey is a deeply hostile environment for almost any microorganism. Low moisture, high acidity, a built-in natural antiseptic. For an adult body, that combination makes it a nearly immortal product. But the youngest digestive system out there, an infant's, simply doesn't have the tools to fight off one particular type of spore that this hostile environment, for whatever reason, doesn't kill, only keeps dormant. It's a bit like a safe that can't be cracked with a lockpick, but has exactly one key that fits exactly one lock. For everyone else, honey is completely sealed off from spoilage, but for an infant's undeveloped gut, that one lock happens to open. That same hostility toward bacteria still finds a use today, quite literally on living skin. Medical-grade honey, specially processed, is used in some hospitals to treat wounds and burns. Its thick texture forms a physical barrier, while the hydrogen peroxide it releases slows bacterial growth right at the site of the injury. Ancient Egyptian physicians who packed wounds with honey 4,000 years ago had intuitively stumbled onto the very same mechanism science would only explain millennia later under a microscope. Next time you open a jar and notice the contents have crystallized, you'll know. That's not spoilage, just ordinary crystallization. And you'll know you're holding one of the very few products on the planet capable of outliving not just you, but generations after you. The very jar that waited over 3,000 years for its moment inside a pharaoh's tomb could have sat on your shelf for just as long, if someone hadn't eaten it first. Thanks for watching. If you have an idea for our next video, drop it in the comments. We'll be sure to give you credit if we use it. Hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned. There are plenty more stories hidden inside the everyday things around us.